Man, I can't wait for all my friends to surprise me for my birthday today. Where is everyone?
Oh, hey!
This is my house. Jeremy, where's everybody at?
I don't know. I'm just here for the semi-annual egg throwing fair.
But, Jeremy, this is a house. What do you mean? Woohoo! Aw, man.
What's that?
That? That's my Oculus I just got.
That doesn't have 8 sides.
What if I just use that to make friends?
Can't get any worse than this.
Let's take a look at everyone's favorite anime, virtual reality. Okay, before I get started, I need to find out what I'm getting myself into. Some of the first inklings of virtual reality started with the Virtual Boy console, releasing in 1995 with Nintendo's maiden voyage into the genre. The console turned out to be a commercial failure, despite the hype around the concept. Largely due to the mismanagement of audience expectations, it couldn't live up to the hype. Gamers were expecting a delivery to the levels of Tron, when in reality, what they got was being waterboarded with 2001 Mountain Dew Code Red. When Virtual Boy came out, the library that came with it was less than spectacular. Immediately upon release, Bomberman, Panic Bomber, having already been released in '94, was ready to be ported to the new console. What they weren't ready for was the absolute lack of creativity that was brought to their thumbs. Yeah, it was essentially a clone of Tetris that we already had on the Game Boy at the time, except you got to play right in front of your eyes. So can you guess the next game that blessed the Virtual Boy library? That's right, it's Tetris, but 3D. This game came out and boasted insanely cool 3D graphics right out the box. Well, until you got to the gameplay. Then you actually got 3D Tetris. I had an aneurysm while playing this. While it's cool in concept, the execution makes this game fall on its face and ultimately makes it a really unenjoyable experience. With a brand new system and concept, you'd think Nintendo would capitalize and port over some popular names like your Marios and Zeldas, the moneymakers. But that's where you'd be wrong. Nintendo dove into the bargain bin and plucked out Mario's homeless Walmart cousin, Wario. Why? WarioLand. While not a bad game, it's not exactly the game you want frontlining the promotions for your brand new gimmick system. Nothing about the game showcased the supposed abilities of the Virtual Boy. I mean, come on! It's supposed to immerse you in 3D. This is a 2D Wario game! Man, I can't wait to jump back in.
I can't wait to get more eggs.
Now, I can confidently say that VR has grown from what it was before. So much so you got your grandpa slicing up in Beat Saber. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, there have been plenty of companies that have gotten into the world of VR. But one company in particular stands out among the rest. That is Oculus. Starting as a Kickstarter campaign, it quickly grew past its original goal with the hype around it, and it became a national phenomenon. So many people were hopeful that this would be the revolutionary product in gaming, something to bring you closer to being that much more immersed in the game. This would fuse regular life with the gaming world, let you be whatever you wanted to be, and it would be a seamless world for you to jump into that let you do whatever you please. And then Facebook bought it. Yes, the common practice for young companies to take large projects off their own hands. It's actually how I got off the streets. They make me call them Big Daddy now. Once Oculus was bought by Big Daddy in 2012, they started the next 8 years on a warpath to let everyone know how serious they were about putting everything into VR. They didn't release anything until 2016! Now, I know this might seem like a reasonable time frame to put out a whole new VR system, but I'm gonna bitch about it anyway, so hear me out. When Oculus was bought in 2012, they had already raised a ton of money, so when they went to Big Daddy, presumably they would have all these different designs for the system already laid out when it comes to actually building the damn thing. There is no way there was no thought put into the actual design already. Because if that Kickstarter campaign raised over 2.5 million and all they had was some software laid out on how generally the system would operate, well, that would mean people would just throw their money at anything. It's really only about if you love yourself. But when the Oculus Rift finally released in 2016, it was a hit beyond imaginable standards. In their dreams, the Rift when it released was met with a gigantic lack of interest from buyers, which led to them selling less than 500,000 units in its first year of launch. Now, this can be for a couple different reasons. One, VR was in its infantile stages, so there were not nearly as many people bought into the idea as there are today.
What are you?
Good luck getting Grammy to enjoy a movie in big screen while she's getting motion sick from walking around the damn intro area. The second, and in my opinion, much more important reason is the fact that there was no support for the platform at the time. The complete lack of games upon launch made a lot of the pizzazz of virtual reality seem like more of a tech demo instead of a brand new system that everyone was supposed to jump onto as soon as possible. It didn't really seem like it was ready to handle the intensity that everyone expected and wanted at the time. When Big Daddy acquired Oculus, they released a bunch of new systems: Rift, Go, Rift 2, Quest, and Quest 2. Though they had a lot of head on the market, the system didn't play well with others, the main one being Steam and the general PC ecosystem. While other systems like the HTC Vive and Steam's own system, the Valve Index, worked in tandem with PC gaming, the Oculus had created its own ecosystem. This brought on a bevy of problems, one of which being the fact that developers now had one more system that they had to optimize their games for, which made getting wide access to a lot of games nearly impossible. So many of the games that were already made for VR and PC had to be ported over. While this was good and eventually created a good variety of things to do, it lacked any exclusivity. The one thing that really pushed it over the other systems at the time was that it was unbelievably cheaper than what the competitors were offering for the value you were getting. I mean, look at the other system prices. $1,000 for a VR headset, and that goes with your probably $1,000 PC that you need to be able to actually run the games. That's over $2,000 right there. It's not exactly the easiest hobby to get into. And when you're trying to get as many people into your new gimmick system that you're trying to convince everyone it isn't, that's not exactly a small hurdle for people to cross to try it out.
Do you know how many copies of Avatar: The Last Airbender for PlayStation 2 I could buy with $1,000? I was never good at math!
So, how do you think I should get started?
Well, my dad always said, sometimes you can't wait for the chicken to lay that egg. Sometimes you just gotta go and take it.
Look, this list right here says there's a cool free-to-play game. Apparently it's called Rec Room.
Well, what are you waiting for?
You're right. I guess the only thing left to do is to dive into the VR world. Wow, it's like I'm really here. There are so many things to try. I always wondered why homeschool kids were like that.
Oh, why are you following me, man? Move! You ugly...
It all makes more sense now. Rec Room is a game where you can have a variety of experiences that you wouldn't think possible in a normal game. Playing actual dodgeball, paintball shooting, hell, even basketball in the main lobby. If I had to compare it to something, it would probably have to be Roblox, but in a virtual reality setting. I mean, it really is a creative setting for plenty of people looking to create their own experience and have a lot of fun with their friends. And then there's me. Yeah, I figured out that not only is this game made for a bunch of children for a very young age group, but a good majority of the games are games that really benefit from having actual people to play with.
Not that children are actually people.
Ugh, this just isn't working.
What's wrong?
There's just no way I'm gonna find any friends doing it this way. What should I do?
What?
No, you know what? Who needs friends? I'm just gonna play games that don't require anybody at all to play with.
Out of all the different ways to experience VR, one of the most immersive ways is by playing a single-player campaign. While the experiences are varied, there are a couple games in particular that stand out among the crowd when it comes to gamers with no friends.
And one of them is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Because who needs friends that are all trying to eat you? This Walking Dead game allows you to do something very little VR games ever come close to achieving. Having realistic human touch, the closest these people will ever get to a touch of a woman. It's almost like she actually loves me. In this game, you're put in the most terrifying position you could be in. Being in New Orleans. You start off finding a bunch of people who for some reason haven't found a stable way of living yet, and for some reason you're the one pitted with their problems. But don't stay out at night, because then the town starts to liven up with some smelly friends, and your chances of making it back to base in one piece are worse than One Piece actually finishing. Overall, very solid game. One of the other choices is Resident Evil 4. for VR. I mean, who wouldn't want to play as Leon S. Kennedy? Only in this game, you get to be a badass, but with motion sickness. The game takes you into the first-person view, and for a lot of the game, it's incredibly fun. Blasting zombies with your shotgun, getting axes thrown at you, all the things normal people want to do in real life. And it's not just a tech demo of what the first level of the game would be like in VR, it's the full-fledged game. That's not a normal occurrence in VR games. A lot of times you have games that are high score based, or they're shorter, more condensed experiences when it comes to single player games. But Resident Evil 4 throws that all out the window and just gives you the full game in a VR format, which is incredibly cool to say the least. However, for those with no stomach for VR, these types of experiences will be a hard challenge to get through. But for those that are still holding back, who don't really feel the need to connect with humankind, Half-Life Alyx has been made for you. This game bangs. If anybody was questioning whether or not VR had games that could not only isolate you from the rest of the world, but also give you a reason to go out and actually buy a system, look no further than this game right here. Half-Life Alyx is a continuation of the Half-Life universe. Being placed between Half-Life 1 and 2, you're on a mission to kill every headcrab you can find. This game, while not only being a perfect example for what a real VR game could and should look like, plays incredibly and makes the majority of motions in the game feel preferable to do in VR. Everything feels so natural and smooth, and the physics play into this beautifully. They even have the motion settings to make those with little baby tiny stomachs feel a little bit better. Not to mention, this is also a full-fledged game, spanning about a 12-hour playtime. And for those 12 hours, I was just so incredibly lonely.
Who am I kidding? I need friends. At this point, I'll do anything.
Oh, well, why don't you try... Wait, what are you doing?
I'm doing what I need to do. I'm doing the only thing left.
Once you do that, there's no coming back from that.
I've played all my cards, and this is the last hand left.
So, I decided the best thing for me to do is to do the worst thing an antisocial person can do. Throw myself in the deep end. In VRChat, while there are a lot of things to do, one popular thing is to go to the quote-unquote clubs in VR, where no drinking is allowed. You can't hear anyone, and there is zero chance you'll be able to physically interact with anyone there. Yeah, the weather is really nice out, I hear. While that's not really my cup of tea, surely the next door I open will be perfect for me. And this is a sleeping room. This is where you cuddle with your VR partner while never actually being with them. I'm not one to shame anybody for how they get down, but man, I can't imagine anything worse than this. So it's time to look somewhere else. And the first option is simple. Chess. When you get down to it, it really speaks for itself, don't you think? Except the cool part about this is you get to play chess how they did in the first Harry Potter movie, which is somehow still better than being in New Orleans. And it helps to have actual people to actually play with.
Hey, do you want to play with us?
Me? I mean, if you're sure.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Wow, I can't believe I have all my friends in VR and real life.
Yeah, and we're here for you no matter what.
I guess it wasn't really about the games themselves, but the friends we made along the way.
Oh, thank you guys so much for coming out.